What is the media, what is the zeitgeist missing in this collapse of U.S.-China relations?
Well, I mean, the situation is rather grave. I mean, we came from 2 years already of trade war and now venturing into tech war. And of course, now the coronavirus is sort of knocking down the last pieces of any reconciliation possible. Now, it's really worrisome where these two massive economies are heading. But what can we do? I mean, European business is trying to position itself independently from that.
As you well know, and you've seen it certainly from Deng Xiaoping on forward, there's always a vacuum to fill. Which vacuum will China fill in our political discourse right now? Where will they go to fit the solution?
Well, Foreign Minister, High Representative Borrell, who is representing Europe, already made it very clear that he sees a battle of narratives heading our way, meaning that China is trying to overcome the fact that they have indeed been very sloppy in the beginning and didn't really communicate well to the world by now projecting themselves as the savior. This is not possibly going to go down well with many places. But you shall not forget that China is a victim first and foremost. China is not going to roar back and is going to dominate the world, definitely not. So we have to see how that settles. We are just in the midst of all of this, so to draw conclusions would be wrong.
Mr. Wuttke, how do you see supply chains changing? Will they be forever changed, and will they be a lot more inward-looking, domestic-looking? And is that because of COVID-19, or did it start with the U.S.-China trade war in 2019?
Well, the upcoming survey of the European Chamber is labeled as navigating in the dark. That says it all. We are struggling to understand where we're going to be next week, let alone that we can prepare for next year or the years to come. But I guess that, yes, we will look into other opportunities, multinationals primarily. At the same time, we can't really leave China. In many areas, it is 60-50% of global growth. And so I don't see European companies, for example, also from the data, from the surveys, moving out. Of course, you will look into new projects differently. China will not be the only story in town, but a diversification will take a while. Who has the money now to establish new plants anywhere in the world?
Do you see a permanent damage to global trade as a result of coronavirus?
Of course. I mean, this is, as Chancellor Merkel put it, the most grave situation since World War II. In manufacturing, we might bounce back faster. Service sector is really going to take a hit. The airlines might not recuperate for 10 years. No, this is unprecedented, and it's guessing what we're going to witness over the next years to come.
But does it actually also signal a shift in globalization, or will we get some kind of normal eventually?
Well, there are two things. One is the awareness that you might not want to put all eggs in one basket. You have the political dimension. You want pharmaceuticals possibly closer to home. That's the European discussion going on. And then, of course, besides the COVID-19, you have Donald Trump, who is unleashing a tech war with China, trying to hold back high tech for the Chinese industry. And that definitely is going to have an impact on us. We don't know to what extent this will lead, but we all have to work with scenarios these days.
Tell me, Mr. Wuttke, and this particularly within China and the European dialogue, when I look at trade, I look at unilateral, I look at some form of bilateral, and I finally look at a multilateral system. Is China benefited by a return to bilateralism or multilateralism?
Well, China managed to benefit mightily from the accession to WTO in 2001. And now they have €1 billion sales to Europe every day, whereas we have $500 million a day into China. Of course, China's whole philosophy is always spoken hub. It's China in the middle, and the rest sort of spreads out. China is engaged in multilaterals, but the whole thinking still is trying to be bilateral because obviously size matters.